I love betting sponsors on football shirts. Said absolutely no one ever. Sponsors like this ruin shirts. But by the end of this video, not only will I be taking you through the different types of betting sponsor that exist, but also showing you exactly how to remove it, no residue, ready to wear. So if that sounds like your sort of video, check this out. And if this video sounds like the sort of thing you like, please remember to click like, subscribe and hit that bell notification icon to make sure you don't miss out on any of our next videos. Hello there and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through exactly how to remove these nasty betting sponsors that blight a lot of modern football shirts. For some reason, I'm not too sure why it is, but for some reason, betting sponsors are just so unpopular. I mean, it's a vice, I get it, it's not healthy for everyone, but neither is drinking. And some of the most iconic sponsors on football shirts in history have been alcohol-related sponsors. So I'm not too sure why betting sponsors are vilified so much. The fact of the matter though is, they are. And this time of the year, when all new shirts are released by teams, those with betting sponsors, the most common request I get from people is, please can you take the betting sponsor off my shirt and put on a retro sponsor, or just take it off and leave it off. And I'd love to be able to do all that, but I really can't. But what I'm hoping today will do is show you it's not that difficult to remove it yourself. You don't have to rely on me or anyone else to remove it, and by the end of it you'll have a shirt looking really good. But before I start going into the steps on the video, I just want to remind you that I get questions asked all day, every day, multiple, tens, 50, 60, 70 a day. And I'd love to be able to get back to you, but I can't always do that in a timely manner. So remember, we've got Kit GPT, our AI-powered chatbot that knows everything that I know. I know that because I've told it. And if you need quick answers to questions, you just got to click on it, ask a question and see what comes up. Now bear in mind, it's AI, right? So sometimes there might be a little bit of something you think, oh, is that right? It'll give you a link to a video, check out the video, and then it'll give you the exact steps of exactly what you need to do. But remember, click the link down below to ChatGPT, Kit GPT, and you'll be able to ask it any question you want. And there's actually two versions of Kit GPT. The old one, the original one, is being decommissioned. The new one is going to be the one going forward. And the new one has Kit GPT written in red writing across the logo. So make sure you use the right one. Right, onto the demonstration. Now, I'm going to be showing you two ways to get rid of a betting sponsor, depending on what type of sponsor it is. Now, you've got vinyl, you've got DTF, and you've got flock, or padded flock. And I don't think I've ever seen a betting sponsor that's anything other than vinyl or DTF. It's very rare that you get a flock or padded flock sponsor nowadays, and betting sponsors are pretty synonymous with modern day shirts. So we're going to put the flock stuff to one side and we're just going to focus on DTF and on vinyl. But how can you tell the difference? Well, this is multicolour, right? So you've got white and you've got dark blue. So in my experience, although this could be printed vinyl, in my experience, the modern shirts with multicolour are DTF rather than vinyl. Now that means that although the process is very similar, you kind of need to use a slightly different solvent. And I'll show you that when we go over to the other side. The other type that you'll see is single colour ones like this, where it's just a solid white. And in my experience, these are typically vinyl. They can be DTF, but they're typically vinyl. Now, you'll see single colour that are non-white, and a lot of the time, they are DTF as well. But when it's white and single colour, a lot of the time, it's vinyl. So we're going to make sure we use the right solvent for this, and the right solvent for the DTF one, and hopefully, by the end of it, you'll have pretty much no residue, so you can decide whether you want to put a retro sponsor back on or whether you just want to leave it plain and beautiful. So let's go over to the other side and show you what to do. So the first shirt we're going to do is this Everton away shirt. Now, or is it third? I'm not sure. Something to note about this shirt is the material is sublimated. So you see this ink on there, that is sublimated ink. And what might happen is the solvent that we use might make this run. And if it does, then typically you should be able to get it out with some spot solve, but we'll see what happens there. Now, what is it that we need? We need a shirt. We're going to need our block to be working on, one of our scrapers, light box with Pyrex, some cotton pads. The solvent we're going to use today is this DTF remover, and I'll put a link to the DTF remover in the comments, because it's a specific one that I use and I think it's fantastic. Microfiber cloth and cowpole syringe. Now, what we're going to do is, like I say, this is printed DTF. I'm 99% certain. So first thing I'm going to do is use this rather than the other solvent. We're going to apply some to the back of a small portion of it, just to make sure it's the right solvent. So before you start going mad and applying the solvent all over it, check first to make sure it's the right solvent. Otherwise, not only will you waste solvent, but you could damage the shirt by using the wrong solvent. So we're going to draw some DTF remover into the cowpole syringe, and we're going to apply a little bit to the back of the sponsor. Now this stuff evaporates really quickly, so we're going to give the shirt a tug around. Look, I am pretty sure this is the right one. Look, it's already starting to come off, and you see this black back in here. This is characteristic of DTF, because what the black is it's black glue that is used to stop sublimated ink coming through white areas of DTF. So what I'm going to do, given that that has kind of worked, what we can try and do is see if we can get some of the residue off while there's still some DTF remover on it. And I'm going to get the microfiber cloth, give it a rub and see what happens. Now I reckon I'm probably, you can see it's coming off into little worms, but I reckon what I'm probably best off doing is taking the whole thing off and then addressing the residue afterwards. So let's go back and just show you. In fact, before I do that, remember, if you've got anything hanging off, pull it away, rip it off, because if you don't do that, then it will fold over, and when you apply the adhesive, the solvent, it could leave marks on the rest of the shirt. So always leave the hanging bit, take it off. So here we go. We're gonna apply this to the back of the rest of the com. And like I say, it evaporates really, really quickly, which is kind of good in as much as you won't stay wet for long. But also what it means is you have to act quickly to get the sponsor off. But it also means that it has a tendency to leave a bit of the residue behind, because it doesn't have long enough to fully digest the residue as some other solvents do. Something like alcohol, for example, that it could take 6, 7, 8 minutes to fully evaporate. So it eats a lot more of the adhesive. But right, here we go. You can see that is off, but there is a little bit of residue there. So again, while it's still wet from the first lot of solvent, let's give it a rub and see if the stuff's gonna come off easily. You might actually need to use a scraper, but let's see. Now there you go. Well, let's give the scraper a go and see. Now I reckon we're going to do the adhesive, the residue at the end. So I'm going to go through, follow that same process I've just done, take off the rest of the stake, and then we'll come back and move to the next step. If you're new to shirt restoration, or even if you've been doing it for a while but you need a little bit of a helping hand, why not take advantage of the one-to-one video calling service that I offer? I've helped loads of people with their problems, ranging from adhesive removal to finding the right printer. Whatever it is you need help with, I'll be able to help you, no doubt. So if you're interested in one of these calls, drop us a comment below or send us a message on one of our socials, and we'll be able to sort one out for you. And stay to the end of this video, because there's a trick that I'm going to show you around getting that last little bit of residue off your shirt. So stay around. So the stake.com has now been removed, but what you'll see is that there is residue left over. And like I say, that's mainly because the DTF remover works so quickly. It doesn't get time to fully eat all the adhesive. It just releases the DTF from the shirt. So what we're going to need to do now is go back over with the DTF remover and get rid of the adhesive residue. Now, what is kind of feels like a good idea is to apply it directly to the front, and you can do that, but I think that you get better results if you can apply it still to the back of the residue. If you apply it directly to the front, what the solvent will do is it only starts eating the layer of adhesive that it comes into contact with. And some of this could have, albeit micro layers, there could be hundreds, tens, hundreds of layers of adhesive there, which means you'll be there for longer trying to do it, and the likelihood is the rubbing will damage the shirt and affect it and give you a worse outcome. So whereas if you apply it to the back, all you need the DTF remover to do is eat the layer of adhesive that is stuck to the shirt. The rest of it will just come off. So what I'm going to do, we're going to address this .com bit here, and I'm going to put it on the light box. This is where the light box comes into its own, because it's very difficult to see, but I don't know whether you can see, but around here, look, these are the kind of solvent smear marks that have been left by using the DTF remover. That is the shape of the .com. So that's where I'm going to apply the DTF remover. So let's draw a little bit more of this up. There we go. And we're going to apply it to the back of where those solvent marks are. And like I say, this solvent evaporates very, very quickly. So speed is of the essence, time is of the essence. So let's over there, and we're going to use our scraper. This is a bit awkward. There we go. We're going to use our scraper to get up as much of the residue as we can. Look, you can see it coming up in clumps. It's kind of forming these little worm-like things, and that's just the adhesive coming away from the material. Now, you don't want to scrape too hard. This scraper I'm using here has been used for years and years, and it's kind of almost got rounded edges. If you've got one of my scrapers and you just bought it off me, bear in mind the edges might be a little bit more abrasive on the material than this one. So just don't go too hard with it. Just take your time and you make sure you don't damage the shirt. So now we're going to use microfiber cloth, and you're starting to see that it is coming away, but it needs another round. So I'm going to do this again and I'll show you the results. So there we go, we've done one more repeat of that. DTF to the back, use the scraper to scrape it away, and you can finish off with a cotton pad, just rubbing it. Cotton pads might be a little bit better than microfiber cloth because they're a little bit more absorbent, but you can see that the .com now is pretty much all gone. Now, if you look carefully, there are some marks that I alluded to at the beginning of the video that are from this sublimated ink coming out onto this. But don't worry, because I'm pretty sure Spot Solve will get rid of that. And if you're struggling to find Spot Solve in your country, then if you click up there, is a video that I've done recently on alternatives to spot solve that are globally available. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to follow this process again on the rest of the steak before we go on to the next step. So here we go. That is all of the residue off now. I don't know if you can see, but there is no residue. Only really the slightest marks where he's probably pulled a bit of colour off when he's come off, when the sponsors come off and what have you, but there is no residue. And something I always say to people when they're trying to work out whether there's residue or not is, can you feel it? If you feel a bit of material that's never had it on, and then compare that to a bit where there was residue, if you can feel even the slightest difference, it's probably because there's still some residue on there. So before you move to this next step, you want to get to a point where the bits where the material where there was residue doesn't feel any different to areas where there was never residue. But now what we're going to do is we now need to get rid of these solvent marks that are caused by the sublimated ink leaking out from the shirt. So what we're going to use, we're going to go with some spot solve. So you're just going to spray a bit on, you leave it on there just for a little bit, and you'll see that they will just slowly evaporate away. So look at that there, starting to just disappear. So I'm going to go around, spray it on areas where there's sublimated ink, use cotton pad and just rub it away. Now you need to give the spot solve enough time to work, so it's not going to be a sudden thing. Don't rub it off straight away, but I'd say, I don't know, what's that been, 30 seconds or so. And now I'm just going to start rubbing it, and you'll see that it comes off the shirt nicely. And actually the spot solve, like I say, I've done a video on alternatives to spot solve, but what I found is the spot solve is also very good at getting rid of those last little bits of residue from name sets and from sponsors, because it is a solvent, but albeit a slightly weaker one that is able to get rid of colour rather than damaging the shirt. So just going to finish doing this, then I'm going to pop it in the wash on a 30 in a wash bag with no conditioner in the machine on its own, and then I'll be back to show you the results. Now, while the Everton shirt is in the wash, what I'm going to quickly do is show you the other solvent that should be used if it's vinyl like this one, because whilst you can probably use the DTF remover, I don't think it's necessarily optimal. So I've got this lovely Rangers shirt and 32 Red, again, not the most popular sponsor in the world, but because it's single colour, I think what I'm going to do is treat it as if it's vinyl. Now, what do we use for vinyl? We're going to use the VLR. So rather than taking you through the whole process, I'll just show you that with the VLR to the back, it will work an absolute treat. So we can see we've got 3 and the 2 there, and we're just going to free pour the VLR onto the 3. It takes a little bit longer to evaporate, so you can leave it for a little bit longer on the back of the vinyl so that it eats as much of the residue as possible. So that's been on there for a few seconds. What's that, 20-30 seconds? We're now going to take that off, and we're just going to give it a little tug around, and you can see that it's coming off nicely. Well, now, interestingly, this isn't even vinyl. This is DTF, and you can tell from the black background, backing of the sponsor. So let's see, this is going to be an interesting thing. Let's see whether it's as efficient as the DTF remover. Now it's coming off, it's leaving a little bit residue. We'll do another letter with the DTF remover and see which one comes off more cleanly. Now, there we go. It's come off nicely. It's left a little bit of residue. But what we'll do now is I'll go to the D and we'll use the DTF remover on this one now and see. There we go. Let's see. So let's go back to the DTF remover. And we're going to apply it to the back of the D. Like I say, it evaporates quite quickly. So let's always put the lid on. Always make sure you have the room nice and ventilated as well. And we can, oh look, there you go. Well look, this has proven a point around how DTF remover is so much more effective at getting DTF off versus vinyl. Now, it surprises me the solid white is DTF rather than just vinyl because of how DTF works. It's, you know, it's a printing method. So they've printed white paint effectively onto the black glue to create this sponsor. So, which is uncommon. You know, the Unibet sponsors for Rangers last season that were single colour, they were definitely vinyl and they came off nicely with VLR. But the VLR doesn't work very well on DTF, hence the purpose of showing the different types in this video. But you can see that whilst it wasn't the point I set out to prove, it's proven another point. You can see here that the VLR has worked, but it's left a fair bit of residue. And the DTF remover has worked and it's left pretty much no residue and it came off a lot quicker. So there you go, that's proving the point around VLR versus DTF remover. So here is the shirt out of the wash. You can see there is no residue. Those nasty stains have gone. But what I'm going to do now is a last little trick that gets rid of that last 1% of residue, and it is giving it a press in the heat press. Now, not everyone has a heat press, so if you don't have one, you can use an iron and you set it on a low heat, and you just make sure you put greaseproof paper over the top or Teflon sheet over the top, and you just run the iron over where the residue is, and as if by magic, the last little bits will disappear. Now, here's a word of warning for you. Do not do this while you can still feel residue on there, because if you do this too early, the heat will make what residue still remains a lot more stubborn. So make sure you leave it till the very last little bits. And like I say, for this shirt here, you can see that residue has all gone. But I'm going to give it a little press just to get rid of that very last bit, and then I'll be back. And something else to bear in mind when you're doing heat pressing, if you've got something like that, which is a DTF Hummel, you want to make sure that the heat press doesn't come in contact with that, because it will damage it. So when you're laying it out in the heat press or whether you're using an iron, just make sure you just get the bit that needs the heat press or the iron applied to it, rather than anything else. So I'm going to go and give this a press. By the time I've done that, I think the Rangers shirt will be finished and I can show you the end results. So stick around. And here we have them, the two finished articles. Look at them. There is no residue in sight. We've gone from betting sponsor to no sponsor. And I don't know about you, but I think these shirts look a lot better like this. So let me give you a quick recap of what we did. We went through that there's two types. There'll be two types of betting sponsor, vinyl and DTF. Typically a vinyl one would be single colour and DTF would be multiple colour. But we kind of proved at that point isn't entirely foolproof, if you like, by showing that this one with the all white sponsor actually was DTF as well, but what I was able to show you there is how much better DTF removal works on DTF versus VLR on DTF. But if you come across one where DTF remover isn't working, try VLR. But there you go. These are the two shirts. We used DTF remover to the back, took the sponsor off. What was left, we used more DTF remover to the back with the scraper to scrape the last little bits off. Then with a cotton pad, you can rub away, mop up the excess DTF remover and make sure all of the adhesive is gone. When you stop being able to feel the adhesive, that means the shirt is ready to go. Now, there were some marks on this from the solvent because it's sublimated ink, and I get a lot of questions asking me about sublimated shirts where there's colour run. Spot Solve worked an absolute treat there. You can see that those colour run marks have now totally gone. So he applied that to it. We put it in a wash on a 30 and Bob is your uncle. And then, like I say, right at the end there's that little tip about using either an iron on a low heat or a heat press on a low heat to press the shirt if you've got that last 1% of adhesive residue remaining. Now, I don't know about you, but I think these shirts look fantastic. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please remember to click like, subscribe and hit that bell icon. It really helps us with the algorithm and it helps get our videos out there. We love our football shirt community and we love the reception we get to all of the videos we put out there. So please spread the word. And if you've liked this video, you're going to love these two. See you next week.